Hello there and welcome to Fairyland Cottage. Thanks for joining me here today. I'm going to talk about composting. Now, composting your food is not only good for the environment, it also creates lovely compost at the end, which you can use on your vegetables or on your plants. This is outdoor composting. Now, you can have a balcony, a little bit of a courtyard or a garden, but if you are somebody that lives in an apartment with no outdoor space, you may need to look into vermicomposting, which is when you use worms to compost, and I'll leave a link down below of where you can find info about that. So this is just going to deal with outdoor composting. So I'm going to show you the ins and outs and do my best to break it down into very simple steps. So let's get right into the video. Well, first of all, when you have your food scraps and you just put that in the bin and it goes to landfill, what happens is it breaks down anaerobically, which means it has no oxygen. And what happens is methane gas is produced, which is a greenhouse gas. And we know that it is not good for the planet. It heats up the atmosphere around our planet, and heating up the planet is not what we want. The other thing about when you send your food scraps to landfill, it combines with the other landfill stuff, and what is made is this like sludgy toxin called leachate, and leachate is not good. It seeps into the soil and then ends up in the soil and the rivers and the sea and anywhere that there's water. And then what happens is it's not good for all the little creatures in the water, and also not good for us if we're swimming in it or we're drinking that water. And also, why compost? Compost for those two reasons, but also for the reason that you get really great compost at the end of it. You do not have to go out and buy commercial compost. You have your own. It is very easy to do, and if you do it properly, you actually can have compost within a couple of months. So I'm going to tell you what are the things you need for composting. So these are the 4 things you need for composting successfully. Obviously, you can just throw everything out in the back garden, but it's probably more likely going to rot rather than decompose into compost. So these are the 4 things you need: air, moisture, nitrogen, and carbon. If all these are present in the right ratio, then you will have beautiful compost. You need air. You do not have to have a bin around all your compost, but you can if you want. I have wood here that's made with wood. I just made it from leftover shelving unit, and there's spaces in between so that everything inside can aerate. If you have a pile in the garden of compost, it's really good to just turn it with a fork, because by turning it, you're giving it more oxygen and everything's going to quickly decompose. Next, you need moisture. If there's too much moisture and everything's sogging, it's going to drown. And then if there's too little, everything's going to dry out and the process of decomposing is just going to stop. So the way you keep it is you kind of just have to go with your gut instinct. You have a look at it, and if it looks a little bit dry, you just add a little bit of moisture. Now, nitrogen is what's considered all the green things. So it's like your food scraps. So when you're cooking dinner and you've got vegetables and fruit or whatever, you just pop that on the pile. You can use things like eggshells. I don't eat eggs, but if you do, then just make sure that you grind the eggshells down. Otherwise, you're going to see them when you have your compost at the end. The other thing is all those coffee drinkers out there, your coffee grinds, that is great for composting. You also can ask coffee shops, they usually give away free used coffee grinds. Take it. Next green stuff is things like grass clippings, flower clippings from your garden, little things like that that will give nitrogen. So the 4th, final, is carbon. Now you need a couple of times more carbon than you do nitrogen, but you'll get the hang of it. Every time you put on some of your greens, you'll then just put a couple of bit more of your carbon, your browns. So the carbon things are things like dry leaves, sawdust or straw, newspapers or cardboard or brown paper. Now with newspapers, be careful. Newspapers are printed with soya or water-based inks, but if in doubt, check with the newspaper that you are using and stay away from any glossy newspapers or magazines. They're a big no-no. You just want simple, plain, black and white newspaper. So this is compost at the end. Now these bins are communal bins, so not everybody knows the correct things to put in it. So everything gets thrown in here and still it will make compost at the end. And as you can see here, it's nice, it's brown, it's usable, and you will find little things. I just have to pick out one of the big thing being stickers from the apples or fruit, other little bits of plastic. Eggshells you can see haven't really decomposed, why I say grind them. And then tea bags which lined with plastic, so they're not really going to decompose properly. So if you're happy with just kind of filtering out this stuff, you don't have to be fussy at all with your compost bin. It is just going to take longer if you're not going to balance out the nitrogen and carbon. And also the fact that it's kind of doing it very slowly and it's not properly, you're going to attract a lot of rodents. So you have all the knowledge, so what's the best thing to do to start? Get yourself some container that you can place in your kitchen that's airtight, pop in your scraps, and then when it's full, I usually empty mine out every 2 days, pop it in to the compost pile, and then cover with some bits of carbony brown stuff. Sprinkle it with a little bit of water, and there you go. And all you have to do is just keep an eye of it. You shouldn't have any problems with things like rodents or little small animals once you keep the ratio of a couple of times more carbon to nitrogen, and you'll be absolutely fine. So there you have it. That is my kind of A to Z of composting outdoors successfully. And listen, I'm not an expert, so a lot of this is just trial and error, doing my research, just going with intuition, just checking it and having fun. And if there's any questions at all, just ask me down below. I'll do my best to answer. And I'd love to know if you compost and how you get on, or if it's a little bit overwhelming or you just don't know where to start. I promise you, it's so rewarding and it is really easier than you think. Just remember those 4 things: the air, the moisture, the nitrogen and the carbon, and you will be fine. So that is it for this week, and thank you very much for watching the video. And if you liked it, do give it a thumbs up and pop over, say hi on Instagram. As always, I love chatting to you over there, and just share it with anyone you know who's interested in composting and really doesn't know why it is so beneficial. Even if you don't want to use the clay at the end that you get, it's still beneficial to the environment and to ourselves to actually compost rather than throwing all of that food waste to landfill. So without further ado, get on outside and get your hands dirty, and I'll see you next week. Bye.